welcome. We're here with Jason, who is the owner of Retail Dispense out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, covering a much larger portion than that, Jason, I'd say, than just those areas and what you all do. But really excited to have you here. Everybody that's, again, joined us or going to join us, feel free to drop some Q&A as we proceed throughout this, and towards the end we'll get to all that. But what we're going to do here to start is just kind of get some background on our good friend Jason here, understanding, again, what brought him to where he is in the industry, and kind of at the forefront of how he believes in quality and his work, and partnering with companies like us that emphasize the same values in what we do as well. So Jason, without further ado, I'll let you take it over and talk a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, it sounds great, Austin. And thanks for inviting me. This is a big opportunity to, kind of tell the world who we are, what we do. Um, and our partnership with BarTrack is something that we've had for many, many years, and it's very much appreciated. So this is very exciting for me. Um, I am the president and CEO here at Retail Dispense. I'm also the founder. Um, Previous experience on my part, uh, nothing to do with beverage. I was in sales and business unit management for several industries, ranging from automation components to specialty materials to capital equipment, as well as telematics. So I'm familiar with telematics, which is, BarTrack falls in that category. So it's pretty natural for me to talk about it. Um, I think there was a question that we're just going to bring to the top was, how did I get started into this business and what made you successful? And getting started in this business, it wasn't anything I set out to do, other than I saw a need. And the company started off as a draft beer service provider, service organization. And everywhere I went, the beer quality was just terrible. It was either out, not functioning, foamy. And so I had a previous colleague that said, well, I know a little bit about this business. Why don't we help, get this started? And so we formed a, partnership, which was since we've parted ways, but that was the genesis of the company. And what makes us successful is, I feel, just our willingness to go above and beyond, our willingness to stretch ourselves, to be uncomfortable, to take on, new and unique opportunities, um, and being responsive. So when we're, we still have a small mindset. We're small to medium company at the moment, that we want to take care of our customers, you know, um, and we do that as well by taking care of our employees. So, take care of the employees take care of the customers. But back to the genesis with the draft beer systems, we were serving just DFW Metroplex. Um, bringing on more and more clients. We eventually connected with some well-known chains that were asking us, can you come to Houston? Can you come to San Antonio? So we opportunistically, would make some runs there. So we do service in those areas as well. Um, but since that time, we've grown from draft beer exclusively to also soda, coffee, chilled water systems. Um, and mechanical. So refrigeration and mechanical is something that we got licensed this year in Texas and Oklahoma, which is a huge opportunity in the restaurant business. Um, but we've also generated quite a bit of interest with some C-store chains. So we do work with C-store, convenience store chains, through some large national contractors doing multi-site enhancements, multi-site rollouts, as well as facilities management or maintenance, schedule maintenance for restaurant equipment and HVAC. So we're staying pretty busy here.
Yeah, that's for sure, Jason. I mean, thank you, first and foremost for all the background here. It's, pretty incredible to see, where you've come, especially, in a short amount of time. But just, for the knowledge of everybody else here, Retail Dispense in that short period has become, not just one of the preferred, but one of the more well-known in their, job scope and what they do. And as Jason had mentioned there in a few different ways, he didn't just kind of funnel his vision into just one part of it, right? And that's something that bridges a lot of gaps, Jason, I think is, as you would say, is being able to handle more of the opportunities with this business and grow alongside them, but also ensuring that they're getting the value and the quality from it, that they look for, right? And having that
Absolutely.
hands-on approach has definitely made you all great partners with us, and we couldn't be more grateful for it. So, why don't we go to kind of another topic here, within line of what we're here to talk about in general, but beverage revenue, right? You're a sales guy, I'm a sales guy.
Mhm.
By numbers, right? We live and die at sometimes. So, when you look at the restaurant market at this time, right? Uh, a lot of people struggle, right? And so one thing that has come from our business model and what we understand is, revenue, right? And how Bar Track helps increase beverage revenue and visibility and stuff. You know, to you, what's the importance of that? What sort of stuff do you believe in when it comes to the importance of revenue, especially when it's generated from beverage?
Sure. Yeah, so when you're in sales, you do have an element of have you have to understand what the customer's needs, where their pain points, what they want out of the system. And with a draft beer system, you also have to understand some of the return on investment. Like what are some of the numbers, right? So draft beer, soda, wine, cocktails, the beverage program consistently yields some of the highest margins in a bar or restaurant. Um, so looking just at draft beer exclusively, some facts and figures, and I'll do my best. I'm going to reference some notes here, but to cite my sources. This is some FinTech and National Beer Wholesaler Association data. Um, when looking at average ticket sales, draft beer drinkers spend about 12% more per month eating and drinking out. So draft beer drinkers do spend a higher dollar amount. They spend on average $201 per month eating and drinking out, whereas the average consumer spends about $176 to $177 per month, depending on the demographic. So, and interestingly, younger drinkers now, age 25 to 35, we're not talking about, underage, but 25 to 35 are on the rise, spending more of their disposable income eating and drinking out. So, draft beer is an important element of a bar and restaurant. When I'm looking for a place to go, and that's what I'm in the mood for, I'd want a draft beer, good, clean, quality draft beer. So, a couple more things. Draft beer also has a higher velocity. It's almost double that of packaged beers, right? Your bottles and your cans. Um, and draft beer drinkers choose beer for taste, so clean systems, proper carbonation, proper temperatures, all critical. So if the beer tastes good, the customer is more likely to order another one, right? So they're spending more of their disposable income on your very profitable your beverages. So and I think these are really compelling reasons why an establishment should at least have a draft beer system uh, alongside their cocktails and wine, their beverage program.
Right. Yeah, and I think it kind of segues into, a question I want to ask, which, give me one word, right? I know there's a longer winded way of saying it, but when you look at a successful installation, let's call it of your equipment, not even necessarily of what Bar Track is, efficiency, consistency, quality, maybe something else. What's the word that you'd put to that in terms of highest ranking importance?
Yep. I think, from a design standpoint, from an equipment standpoint, from an installation standpoint, it really all just comes down to quality.
Yeah. No,
So,
that's very much well said and definitely heard. I think, for our experience, and I'm sure what you've seen, just the quality aspect of having a functional, reliable draft system can really be a difference maker, especially for businesses that are, in their infant stages, right? So, it's important for them to make the most in their beginning stages because they're trying to get the return on every investment they made, not just that draft system. And that all is a direct impact to the bottom line. So when you look at like, defining like the perfect pour, what system setup elements, what make it possible, sort of hardware components. I know it differs on draft systems and stuff, but what are some of the things from the very beginning that are often underestimated in terms of, a quality draft install?
Yeah. So, and really proper planning and system design, is key. So interact, reaching your customer as early in the process as possible. Um, there is it becomes a bit more difficult and more complex the later in the project that you become involved, right? So they're making decisions on where they're going to place walls and how they're going to, you know, are they going to use a chase? Are they going to go overhead with it? And so you want to be part of those conversations, right? So
Right.
having a good lead generation and having a good SEO and people looking for you, reaching out to you early in the project, and being a consultant, advising the client, this is it's a system. So, um, the customer may know, well, I want it to look nice. We can do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We can make it look
Yeah.
great. It's a nice ornament on your bar. We want it to look fantastic, but it also has to work well. Um, and the way we do that, again, get involved early, but going on site, walking with the customer, finding a way to implement their vision, but also, doing the math, um, sourcing great high quality equipment, and installing it with precision. Um, so, coming back, doing the calculations, what type of gas systems can we use? How long are the runs? What's the smallest diameter trunk line we can get away with so that we can save the customer money, when they're doing their line cleanings every 2 weeks, right? Minimizing waste. But just putting that effort in on the front end so that that customer has the perfect pour, day in and day out.
Yeah.
And I think, one underestimated component that it is also, but installing it with precision, right? Not just for functionality, but to also create a sense of pride for the customer, right? It's visually appealing in the front of house, but also in the back of house. But that also sets up expectations for the staff going forward, to keep it clean, to keep it tidy. And, you know, all of those components go into a great quality, draft system. So,
Right. Now, totally makes sense. And then, kind of getting to the point of quality, right? Getting to that quality install. I mean, whether it's certain things with clients directly or some of the things just that go into putting the draft system together. I mean, what are some of the challenges that, make achieving that one word being quality sometimes hard?
right. Well, what is a people business, right? So we have technicians and we want everybody to share our vision, right? We speak of character and curiosity here. I think that covers a lot of what I look for in my technicians. And having everyone buy into what you're trying to do. It may be a fourth day, fourth 12-hour day in the cooler, and you're away from home and your flight's in a few hours, and it might be tempting to make some shortcuts. So, just really knowing that I have people that are going to go ahead and change their flight or, put in that extra few hours to make a good quality system. Um, I don't know that that's hard, but it is top of mind.
Right.
And, another thing would be just, really understanding customer expectations. Um, for example, we have one technician that's well over 6 feet tall, and he tends to install things a little, higher than they need to be.
His eye point, right?
Yeah, and so, but maybe stepping back and having perspective, like, hey,
Yeah.
maybe bring the client in with you while you're making these decisions, and both of you together decide where we're going to place these
Right.
components.
Right.
So not understanding expectations can have an impact on quality. If you
Yeah.
have to come back and move everything because they can't reach the fobs, then that's something. So really trying to understand expectations up front, but also training your customers on the back end on, you know, what to expect, how to use the system. That has a direct impact on quality as well, especially after you leave and you hand over the system. They need to
Yeah.
understand how to change out the kegs, how to adjust. Hopefully, they're not adjusting pressures, but if they ever had to, right, or the fobs, those kinds of things all have an impact on quality, whether it's real or perceived. So,
Right.
yeah,
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, just off that point, recommendations, best practice, kind of outlining, to anybody those things that you would highlight? What are you
Yeah.
doing to ensure accuracy, balance, consistency? What would you tell them?
Again, proper, system design is key, but also being there when the beers arrive to help fire up the beers with the customer, right? Again, that goes back to the education part, showing them how to do it, making sure everything, is great. Your restrictions are well calculated, your pressures are spot on, and they're pouring perfect beer. Um, but also, going forward, this is a system we need it to be well maintained. So we do offer some preventative maintenance programs, whether it's line cleanings, because the customer wants a higher level of service
Right.
compared to here in Texas, our distributors do the line cleanings.
Yep.
Um, maybe their heart's not in it like ours is.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something that we bring to the table as well. Or full system maintenance, nose to toes every quarter, just to make sure that nothing is strayed or come unwrapped or any, eh, creep, temperature creep on the compressors and things like
Right.
that. So, but I think those are some best practices, just, again, quality install and then regular maintenance.
Yeah. Now, and I know like when it comes to preventative maintenance, that's one of the things we as a company are uniquely positioned to do with you as well, right? It doesn't always have to
Right.
be direct to the retailer, right? We do have a direct value just to you all. Looking at even not just us, but obviously other technology that you've put in there, how does technology change the way you plan for preventative maintenance?
Well, obviously, we are a service organization, so we have to stay organized. We have to understand where our customers are when their maintenance is due, what their cadence is. So we spend a good bit of money on our field service software for that. Um, and we have some pretty high quality, good, very good dispatchers, right? So that's part of the customer experience. That is a technology solution that we lean on heavily, but also for real-time alerts and temperature sensing and things, pressure. Bar track is a great solution for that. I think, being able to get in front of issues as they are starting to happen instead of when they fully, show themselves. So, uh, monitoring the temperature on the glycol system with the new, glycol monitoring systems that y'all provide. Knowing that our bath temperature is going up or that our compressor is starting to, rise in temperature. Um, all great early predictors of a future failure. In the cooler, monitoring the beer temperature, monitoring the pressure, and being able to receive real-time alerts if they go outside of their parameters. Um, either to the customer who can then say, "Hey guys, I see something on the horizon," or even sharing the alerts with the service provider to where we can then be more proactive about it and call the customer and let them know, that we've got some parameters that aren't in line and we might need to come take a look at it. Um, so I see, just the opportunity for predictive maintenance as well, using bar track is highly valuable. Again, draft beer is one of your most profitable products in your bar and restaurant. So downtime is costly. And to put a little bit on the front end, you know, pales in comparison to the lost revenue that you might have over a weekend from not being able to sell draft beer because, we didn't do the maintenance or we didn't see it coming. So
Right.
I see technology as a huge component of that, predictive maintenance opportunity.
Absolutely. And so what sort of tips and tricks, have you seen clients do to increase their beverage program and just help establish overall growth within their business?
Yep. Um, I've said it a few times. Again, preventative maintenance, maximum uptime, I think is the concept, though, right?
Yeah.
So either through maintenance, to maximizing your return on investment, but also your customer retention. So if you're down and the customer walks in, maybe they'll come back next time, or they might say, "Yeah, I'm not going to drive that far because last time I was there, their draft system was down." So keeping customers happy um, is obviously important to growth. But also implementing something like bar track where you are accounting for every drop, being able to measure every pour and making sure that every ounce is accounted for in the POS system,
Yeah.
right? Um, that have an impact on on the establishment's overall growth. But again, as well, inventory, right? Being able to tell what I have on hand at any given time. You can't sell what you don't have on hand. So if you don't know that you're low and that you're going to need a delivery on Thursday to be ready for the weekend, or your bar back or your staff didn't do inventory properly, it goes all back to maximum uptime and the opportunity to sell beer, right?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, can't thank you enough for sharing all this information. And, just in that short period of time here, I hope that a lot of people have been able to retain what we've been talking about and just kind of learn from it and understand it. And, how companies like yourself have become to be so successful and their clients, therefore, as a result of that, because of what you believe in and your core values, right? Which are very similar to here at Bar Track, in which we believe. So, can't thank you enough. I know there was a couple other questions that were put in previously before. I didn't see anything else come up when I just checked the chat, but why don't we address those real quick and we'll let everybody get on to the rest of their Wednesday. Sound good?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. So I know one of them was talking about craft beer festivals. It sounded like specifically, what sort of, again, tips and tricks do you have for ensuring that the pours are clean, but also that they're happening fast?
Yeah, so festivals, typically a temporary type setup, right? We don't festival 365 days a year.
No,
So,
I wish.
a couple of things. One, we want to make sure that, when it was taken down last or before it's ever put back into service, that it is cleaned very, very well, so that we don't have any lingering flavors. Um, but also specifying, it's very simple. It's typically a jockey box, right? So it's going to have some coils and some ice bath. So just making sure that those coils are always cold and that you always have the right pressure, right? Kegs are generally are racked at 15 psi. So, while you may have a blended gas system back at the brewery where you're running 24 or 30, you're going to have straight CO2. So making sure that you have the proper pressure is key as well. And maybe even have a low pressure regulator, primary regulator, if not a low pressure secondary regulator. So you can dial it down to 15, you know, or 14 and get it right where it needs to be. That's going to help with the pour, less waste. So less waste, you're pouring less foam, your pours are shorter. Um, that I think that is going to be key because the technology is very simple across the board, right?
Right.
Yeah. So keep it clean, correct pressure, correct temperature. You should be good.
Perfect. Well, one of the other questions that we had here was just speaking a little bit more again on how does monitoring, utilizing systems like bar track or anything else help you with, getting scheduled service done, kind of what that looks like and how you use that technology to do that.
Sure. Well, a couple of things. For one, we do have visibility to the cleaning cadence using the bar track system. So we can use that to make sure that, especially here in Texas, where the distributors are doing the cleaning, that they actually happened, right? And that they
Right.
didn't just write it on the wall, the date and their initials and, kind of go on. Um, so that's one way that we can use it just to monitor, the cleaning cadence. But another is the alerts, back to our earlier conversation, can be an early indicator that you have an issue. Um, Either, temperatures out of line, pressures out of line. We're starting to see some foam. Um, the compressor is starting to run warm and it's continuously warming at a trend that, might beg us to come out there and check some things. Those alerts are very helpful, for the customer and for us, so that we can show up prepared and know what we're getting into, what we need to look at first.
Right.
So
Showing up with the right tools, ready to know what job needs to be, done besides the showing up, having to diagnose it for however much
yeah,
time and
absolutely.
then do it.
Yeah. And it could be, hey, my beer's foamy. And, well, we send a beer tech. Well, actually, we know that the compressor temperature is rising, I can send, this technician who's, EPA 608 refrigeration equipment on the van can do both versus one of my other technicians who might only be doing beer. So we can get to that too. So that, sending the right technician at the right time prevents a second visit. So we get a higher first time completion rate, with that type of information. I see a lot of opportunities with it. So,
Yeah. And that's satisfaction, right? Who doesn't
right.
like it when you show up and you're able to complete the job and, a much shorter amount of the time, get them back up and running and
Yep.
pouring quality beer. So it looks like the last question probably was more related to me, and it just was down to tracking sales and, kind of culminating everything that we talked about here today. It kind of goes into quality as well, right? And the reason I use the word quality is because in order to properly track sales, you need quality data, right? If all you're getting is your readings from your POS is, what's been sold, right? And then you're having to do the traditional inventory practice of, okay, how many pints, what's the keg level at, blah, 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 subtract, here's my delta, right? There's a lot of inaccuracy on it. So I wouldn't call it quality, right? So speaking to the group and whoever, asked the specific question, the reason systems like Bar Track exist is because draft beer, soft beverage, they're kind of anomalies when you think about it, because there's much more than just one way in which it can be lost, right? And so what Bar Track helps provide in a sense of quality when it comes to tracking sales and data is the opportunity to make decisions, right? And I'm going to use the term again, quality decisions, right? So that means being able to use data that doesn't just tell me I have loss, but how specifically am I losing that product, right? Is it due to people, giving things away? Is it due to over pours or improper pouring? Foam, right, which aligns with our buddy Jason here and how he can see that information, line cleaning, keg changing, having that level of quality information as an operator allows you to make very quick decisions. And, if it's with staff or even jokingly enough, your draft system, it helps eliminate the excuses and change behavior with either of those things. So, tracking sales is critical, but tracking it accurately and understanding what's causing them to be where they are and how to get them better, that's probably the most important thing, and why Bar Track has seen so much growth in existence and has had incredible partnerships across the board with gentlemen like Jason and Retail Dispense. So I think that wraps it up on our end, Jason. Not sure if you have any last words for the group, but if you do, I'll
Yeah, I just uh, just want to thank you, Austin, for inviting me to, spend this time with you today, as
always a
well as
pleasure.
all of our guests who joined us, taking time out of their day to hear about our partnership and quality draft beer systems and bar track.
Perfect. Well, echoing what Jason just said, thank you so much to everybody. And again, those that will be watching this on their own later, we hope you enjoy it. Please reach out directly to either of us if you have any questions regarding either side of what we do here. And yeah, excited for everyone to digest this and hope to hear from some people soon. Cheers.
Sounds great.
Take care.
Bye, Austin.